Tulsi Gabbard exposed Hillary Clinton like never before. Take a look.
And so when people look at the newly declassified Durham appendix, you'll see a number of quite shocking statements in there. You know, Hillary Clinton's emails were deleted just in time.
During an appearance on Pod Force 1, the DNI explained how Durham Annex gives people yet another reason to distrust Hillary, and even called out the MSM for whitewashing her.
But also seeing how the mainstream media was complicit in this because they would list off all of these titles, these fancy titles that she's carried, but none of them actually looked at her record.
That's why today we're covering it all, because we're not here to follow parties blindly. We're here for common sense. So if you're an independent thinker, hit the subscribe button and let's jump right into it.
Just talking about Hillary Clinton, some of these documents, the recently declassified Durham annex from the Durham report from 2023, that shows some absolutely incredible emails. I mentioned between Hillary Clinton's campaign and various Soros people, just spelling out that this was an operation to dirty up Donald Trump and distract from Hillary Clinton's problems.
That's exactly right.
What do you know about that?
If you remember when we go back and Hillary Clinton's emails were really making headlines in a lot of ways and for a lot of reasons.
Her missing emails.
Yes, exactly. And so when people look at the newly declassified Durham appendix, you'll see a number of quite shocking statements in there coming from people like then DNC chairwoman Debbie Wasserman Schultz, talking about how, and I'm paraphrasing here, but Hillary Clinton's emails were deleted just in time.
If you haven't read the declassified Durham Annex yet, you really should. It gives a clear look into how Hillary's campaign operated during the 2016 election, and it's worse than most people realize. Beyond what Tulsi mentioned, the file details how, quote, the Clinton staff, with support from special services, is preparing scandalous revelations of business relations between Trump and the Russian mafia. Durham then adds, quote, Clinton approved a plan proposed by Julianne Smith to smear Trump by magnifying the scandal tied to the intrusion by the Russian special services in the pre-election process to benefit the Republican candidate. The annex also cites an email from Leonard Bernardo, the senior vice president of the Soros Foundation, saying, quote, Julie says it will be a long-term affair to demonize Putin and Trump. Later, the FBI will put more oil into the fire. And yes, Obama's name shows up later too, which is the exact point Tulsi expanded on, saying this.
These documents also show that President Obama was briefed on this before the election, and how at that point in time he talked about how he didn't want his legacy to be tainted by Hillary Clinton and her controversy, and claimed to want to stay out of it. Obviously, at a certain point, he made a different decision, but it really, again, starts to lay the groundwork for how we see at the highest levels of power in our country. Remember, Hillary Clinton was the Secretary of State. We see at the highest levels of power in our country how this narrative was very intentionally used, and some intelligence pointing to the use of foreign agents or assets to assist in this narrative that, again, was in essence executed to undermine President Trump's candidacy and to advance Hillary Clinton into the presidency.
The declassified file notes that, quote, on August 3rd, 2016, during a meeting at the White House, Brennan briefed Obama, Biden, Clapper, and Comey regarding Russian interference efforts as well as Clinton's plan to vilify Trump. But Obama had no intention to, quote, darken the final part of his presidency and legacy by the scandal surrounding the main Democratic Party contender. As a result, nothing came to light publicly at the time. That changed a few months later, as in the following January, on orders from Obama himself, a new intelligence assessment was put out, which was largely based on the now debunked Steele dossier. That report helped launch Russiagate, a story that dominated American politics for years and shaped how millions viewed Trump's presidency. Going back to the podcast, the conversation shifted towards another hoax Hillary created, which was Tulsi being, quote, Russian assets, to which Gabbard replied with this.
And Hillary Clinton, you've had relations with that are not
Relations.
I mean, when you ran for the presidency in 2020, she called you a Russian asset. Why did she not like you back then? You were a Democrat.
There are a few reasons, yes. There are a few reasons. Number one, Hillary Clinton, as I said then, is the queen of warmongers.
Right.
So from a fundamental foreign policy view, what she was advocating for the American foreign policy to be versus what I was advocating for could not have been more different and diametrically opposed.
Libya, for instance, when she was chortling about the brutal death of Gaddafi.
Which is just every time I see that video of her in that interview, really, as you said, we saw and
he died.
Exactly.
Yeah.
He died.
And then she
laughs. Laughing about it.
Yeah.
Just like the attacks on Trump, this was another move by Clinton to discredit an opponent. Maybe she saw Tulsi as a threat. After all, Gabbard was gaining momentum fast within the ranks of the Democrats and was starting to stand out. And the smear stuck. Even during her confirmation hearing, Democrat senators kept circling back to the same talking point, repeating it so often it felt like a broken record. And make no mistake, Hillary's comments weren't accidental, and she knew exactly what she was doing. You see, once you put a claim like that out into the world, it spreads fast. Trying to clean it up after the fact takes time. And even then, some people won't believe the truth, no matter how much evidence you show them.
Substantively, my views are diametrically opposed to hers on foreign policy and many other issues. But also back, it was because of that as then I was a vice chair of the Democratic National Committee back in 2016. And, I had started to see from the inside so much of what was wrong within the National Democratic Party, but made a decision at that time where the scales were being tilted heavily for Hillary Clinton by then DNC Chair Debbie Wasserman Schultz, but also seeing how the mainstream media was complicit in this, because even as they touted Hillary Clinton as, and you remember, the most qualified candidate ever to run for president in our nation's history. That's a high bar.
Yes.
That's a very high bar. And yet, when you look at her actual record, they would list off all of these titles, these fancy titles that she's carried, but none of them actually looked at her record of what her policies were as a U.S. senator, what her votes were, what her actions were around foreign policy. That would qualify her to be, the most qualified person ever to be commander-in-chief.
Exactly. And that's the whole point of propaganda. Repeat a lie often enough and people stop questioning it. It becomes accepted without a second thought. But thankfully, the American people saw through it. They weren't buying the narrative, and when it came time to vote, they made that clear. Hillary didn't make it to the White House. And a big part of that was the public refusing to fall for the script. Let me know in the comments your thoughts on this story. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and remember, keep thinking.